Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the L1 show, Links with Friends. Today is May 6th, and we're doing government and social for the start of your week.
I'm back.
It's a different. Normally it's government and security, but it's social today.
I've been trying to balance them out more, but it's week to week.
Yeah, it changes.
Things are different.
There's not any balance in the real world week to week. It's like it's getting real crazy.
I would like to get off the roller coaster.
Are there any non-clowns in this car?
Well, I guess depending on where you sit, this one could be good news. It's probably good news for the people, would you say?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't empathize with these people. I don't care about them. But, yeah, congratulations.
Apple must halt non-Apple store sales commissions, judge says. This is Apple versus Epic. Epic is coming back.
How many years?
Yeah, 4. Fortnite is coming back to the App Store. The judge looked at what we said immediately after the ruling and said, wait a minute, Apple, you're not complying with the spirit and intent of my ruling. You've exploited a loophole, and now I'm pissed.
I didn't include any of them, but there were so many stories. Like Spotify clearly already had it ready.
Yeah.
Like they were ready, just like, oh, yeah, just push it. Yeah. We finally got it. So like company after company announcing, yes, we will be bypassing that. Here's the web portal.
At the time we're filming this, it literally happened yesterday, and Apple was sending out notices that, hey, we're not going to penalize you for having prominent links to go pay somewhere else. The crazy thing about this, though, is the judge said it's okay for Apple to charge a distribution fee for apps. Just make it make sense. And she looked at the 27%, and she looked at emails from inside Apple where they were like, well, let's just take 3% off for the credit card fees, and then we'll charge them 27% to, deal with the app. And the judge was just like, this is literally the most anti-competitive option you could have chosen. You couldn't have chosen a more anti-competitive way to do this.
Now, if you're following along with the one tab, I just had to resort because I made a bad sort there. But yes, this one must come next because that was not the end of Apple's bad news. If Tim Cook thought he was having a bad day, then it certainly got worse and perhaps catastrophically worse.
Apple said it will appeal after the court finds the company and the executive lied under oath in the Epic Games trial.
Oops.
Yeah, the judge, apparently somebody submitted some emails that directly contradicted testimony from those executives. That's weird, isn't it? Judges don't like that.
And the judge was like, hey, you're going to have to stop doing this. And they were like, meh, we're not going to. What are you going to do about it? And we're going to find out what they're going to do.
This one's also insane because we literally pointed this out and was like, why doesn't the judge care? And it's just like, well, 4 years later, the judge was like, oh, yeah, what are you doing?
I imagine there's some sort of I guess the appeal process is so long. 4 years later does seem excessive, though.
But, they got the tech bro shield. Yeah. Nothing will really happen here, but this is got to be a slam dunk contempt, right?
Yeah. One would think.
Lock them up. Take them to county. God, how hilarious would that be?
The one thing that I really wish this case had allowed is the ability to run your own arbitrary software. It's like, okay, if it's okay for Apple to charge some reasonable percentage for the App Store distribution, well, just let me run my own arbitrary stuff like side loading, like Android. Like that would be great. This ruling doesn't mention any of that or suggest any of that or go that route, but I think that would be a reasonable alternative as well. But don't forget Europe. In Europe, they're like, hey, this is a phone. Your phone's just a computer. You ought to be able to run arbitrary apps like every other computer.
And the trade war is raging on. Not a ton of amazing new developments, but we do have that sort of sparring headlines of, oh, China's come to the table. Oh, the U.S. is making concessions. Followed immediately no, we're not doing that. That's a lie. And you don't know what to believe. Ride. Yeah, you don't know what to believe. But this one, at least, we have a valid source for, and this one seems to be moving in the other direction.
Brendan Carr's FCC is moving to ban Chinese labs from testing electronics sold in the U.S. So there's not really a lot of options for FCC testing of devices in the U.S., and they are wildly expensive. Hey, Chad, how would you feel about Level 1 FCC testing labs? Because that seems like an easy way we could make a lot of money very quickly.
Get that onshoring money.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's
who knows if that'll materialize.
Yeah, or even if it does materialize and you get everything set up and that takes 3 months and then it changes.
It takes 3 months, and we would turn a profit if it lasts 2 years, 3 years.
That's a lot to ask for with this administration.
That's you can't count on anything. That's the whole problem.
I suppose technically the labs in Taiwan are still okay. Those are also reasonable.
Yeah, but those are also not future-proof at all. And here is a sad one, and I don't think there was much a chance of this not happening because it was pretty much from the start going to be a slam dunk, but it's sad.
The EFF headline is Congress has passed the Take It Down Act despite major flaws. This is like the DMCA on steroids. It's even more just shoot first and ask questions later. So DMCA abuses are about to be turned up to 11.
And much like the DMCA, there's no penalty for false accusations. So you have 48 hours after the accusation, you have to do something. And when it all shakes out weeks or months later and you were wrong, doesn't matter.
You should watch our video on copyright.
Which is not this. This is actually worse because you don't have to do anything. You don't have to have a copyright here. It's just you made somebody sad with a tweet. And the war for who controls the narrative and the truth is raging on.
U.S. attorney for D.C. accuses Wikipedia of propaganda, threatens nonprofit status. This is
Sad.
This is sad. You know, if you look into the individual, the U.S. attorney that's behind this, maybe some skeletons in their closet, maybe not. I don't know, depending on how you look at it. But it's really insane because, you know, in the Biden era, it was, Twitter's the boogeyman. And now in the post-Biden era, it is Wikipedia is the boogeyman. It's like, is there an option where we just treat these like what they are and leave them alone?
Yeah, let's treat them like what they both are. Propaganda. Yeah, it's true. There is propaganda on both. You're never going to get away from that.
Well, I mean, you might be able to get away with that if you have only state-sponsored speech, which seems to be where we're going, which is unacceptable.
Well, how's that not propaganda? That's the worst kind of propaganda.
Yeah, exactly. It's like only the approved list is things that we can talk about. It's like, that's not.
Only the approved list is allowed in to talk to the White House.
That's so dystopian.
But one man who apparently is no longer in the White House has now moved back to his, civilian roles, but he's still in there in spirit and digitally and still working on some hiring decisions.
DOGE recruits a college kid to help rewriting the housing regulations with AI. But this is HUD. They're trying to make HUD more efficient, but...
Which means they'll just kick people out of their housing and then be like, I don't know why there's so many tent cities popping up.
Everything's going to be done with AI from now on. Man, we're here. I mean, it's going to be crazy, but that's the world we're going to live in. Brace yourselves for that.
You're going to live in a tent in that world.
I've learned to speak, I've rephrased my question to the HUD AI in the form of a question, and now apparently we're moving into the governor's mansion. I don't know what happened.
Well, here's another interesting thing that seems to be happening, which is just a brazen disregard for the rules about, like, hey, if you're going to be the leader, you're not supposed to be able to do things to make money with that power. We even, I didn't put the story in there, we got the Pelosi Act. Yeah. And we don't have it, but it's been submitted. There's no way it's going to pass.
My peanut farm joke. We made Carter sell his peanut farm.
Well, we're not doing that anymore, and this is going to be more than peanuts.
U.S. government registered several websites potentially linked to Trump meme coin. The trilliondollardinner.gov, dinnerforamerica.gov, and the trillion.gov. I think dinnerforamerica.gov is going to age really poorly if we continue on with the trajectory that we're on. And also with the peanut farm thing, yes, I realized the peanut farm went into a trust, but it was a blind trust. So, again, they made him give up something he loved.
I just can't imagine that there would be this much interest in these dinners. But
I feel like it would be a massive security risk. So, you'd have to vet every single person. So they're probably not actually doing it, right?
Well, NVIDIA did the $1 million dinner, and I can't tell that it bought them anything.
It bought them a headline for one day until he changed his mind.
But that was a straight donation. This is you buying an asset. So presumably you're not giving up anything unless it gets rug pulled. So, I mean, you're not even taking as much risk, right?
We're using the cryptocurrency as your token to come to dinner. And it would be amazing if some billionaire gave their ticket to a San Franciscan crack addict. It's like, well, he's got the crypto.
Do you think, if you're the security detail, how angry are you right now that you're having to vet like hundreds of randos?
But the security detail is the Secret Service. We're paying for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know.
Well, I guess they would probably have that at the White House, right? Isn't that part of the deal? It's at the White House? I mean, I'm sure they have dinners with all sorts of, business people. And look at who Biden had to the White House. But it's just so in our face these days.
Yeah.
Does it make the audience angry to see technology misused? And it's like, this is a time in human history where, like, for our lifetimes, it's easy to be really pessimistic, but in the history of all human existence with AI and some of the tools that we have, it is the most optimistic time there has ever been for humanity. But for us specifically, maybe not.
Well, EVs are out there. I see more and more of those hideous Teslas on the road, which is hilarious because all those people are being harassed. But yeah. So what about the poor gasoline tax? What are we going to do?
There's apparently Republicans want to, according to Ars Technica, tax EV drivers $200 a year in new transport bill because they're not buying gas. This is another one of those like federal gas taxes. Like, well, if they don't get any gas, we need to maintain the roads somehow. But it's somehow weirder than that because it also doesn't cover commercial vehicles, which seems like where the problem is.
I don't want to take advantage of the telemetry spying network, but is there an EV that doesn't call home with telemetry? So we know your mileage. Why don't we just make it mileage based?
Yeah.
Why make it flat? Why punish people who don't drive?
And also the commercial people that have EVs. I think UPS, Engagement Challenge chat, I'm pretty sure that UPS's natural gas vehicles also have a mileage tax, but the Department of Transportation negotiates that separately. That's why you've got like the dot label on the side of your vehicle, and then that's mileage based. Is that why they're not going for commercial in this? Is the article just terrible? It's like, oh, you still have to register your commercial vehicle with dot, and you pay a road tax that way. If so, this $200 is just a money grab because on average, the average individual driving is not doing $200 of maintenance to the roads.
And this is a story that we've been seeing a lot of, and we have some more in the Europe section. But here we are in the homeland in our biggest city, and they're saying no more cell phones.
New York State budget deal includes bell-to-bell school cell phone ban. Here's how it would work. This doesn't seem unreasonable.
Yeah, this seems fine.
The only thing that it might be nice for kids to have a cell phone is like for the school shootings, which happen at an alarming rate, but...
They argued that communication with the parents, but also healthcare. Healthcare? I didn't understand that.
You know what we did when like I was in school, and if you got sick and you got sent to the nurse's office, they had your parents' work number on file, and they just called it over a landline. Like,
or if that happens, like, okay, get your phone out of the pouch.
Yeah.
You're sick. Like, I don't understand how. But even with healthcare, like if it's that bad, wouldn't we just be contacting some sort of, like ambulance or something?
Yeah.
I would think that you could use reason like, oh, your list of medications is on your cell phone and you feel bad? Yes, go get your cell phone and share that with the nurse. Like, we could just use our brain.
Except when, at least when I was a kid, and this probably is still true, like you filled out all that stuff at the beginning of the year and the nurse had it on file. Like there should never be a reason you would need it on your phone.
One thing, though, that you have to consider with kids is that they are awful. And they are going to hustle as much as they can to get a hold of that phone. And they're probably going to like clog up the works, right? With requests like that. They're going to game the system as much as they can. So they'll be fine, They just drink more water till 5 o'clock and then deal with your healthcare problems. That should be the rule. They don't even go to 5 o'clock, right? When does school let out?
Like 3.
Oh my God, so easy, right? And another one of these. These are just more and more pouring out. And it's such a bad idea, but it's snowballing.
North Carolina bill would require people to share their IDs with social media companies so we know who they are.
Oh, so I don't want to use social media anymore.
Yeah.
Even less than I already do.
It'll be like those other headlines where it's like, hey, what you're doing seems unreasonable. Can you cite the authority under which you operate? Or like, why is what you're doing unreasonable? And they're like, oh, we're going to charge you with obstruction. It's like, oh, now they'll be able to track you down for posting things on social media. This will pave the way for the insanity like in the UK where like Granny says, I'm upset with something, and then they hunt her down.
First they came for 4chan.
You say that, but you say that as somebody who doesn't use a lot of social media. And I can understand that. I can agree with you. But most people, that's kind of like, it's like, oh, you have to give us your ID to keep getting methadone. Like they freak out without it. They can't operate without it. I'm telling you, every arrest video that I watch, people are like, can I have my phone? Can I just get my phone? They're in the back of the police car.
I am surprised, like, when I go out to dinner with someone, like, I did a lunch thing with someone a while back, and, like, they struggled to not check their phone.
Yeah.
Younger person, but...
I don't think age has that much to do with it, honestly.
No. The other thing that blows my mind now, we're going to go on a tangent, is how people seem to think it's okay to play music or, like, a video or something out loud in public.
Or just a speakerphone.
Yeah. It's baffling.
We're falling as a society. And so we've talked a lot about Neuralink, and you might be thinking, well, Neuralink, nobody has that, right? I mean, it's just like 3 guys at this point, or maybe 6 or whatever. But that's not the only thing. If you recall, there are other things that are, it's probably pseudoscience, but they're like, hey, this will help you get to sleep or have lucid dreams or whatever. You know, we got these devices, just mount them on your head. Well, they do work in terms of monitoring your brain signals. That is one thing they can do.
The Verge's headline is Neurotech companies are selling your brain data, and the senators warn there's nothing they can do about it. It's weird, because when somebody like just asked for copies of senators' VHS rental records, like the next week there was a law that was like, hey, VHS rental records is privacy protection. So VHS rental records have more protection under the law than your brain scans.
Well, I think in this case, the senators were saying, like, we would like to regulate this, but it's moving so fast, it's hard to know where to start.
Well, they're just pointing out that the data is being traded like all the other data. Yeah. But this is literally what's inside your head.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that good yet, but it's improving.
I like the argument for protecting, like, hey, let's just have blanket protections for your data. It's like, oh, no, that would crash the economy. And it's like...
It's already going to crash. We might as well just make some improvements while we're here.
So why don't we, just rip that Band-Aid off? Huh? All right, well, let's just rip that Band-Aid off with the hoovering up all of your private data, too. I mean, why not? Come on. Do it. You won't.
Well, IBM says it's not going to crash because they are at the forefront of onshoring.
IBM to invest $150 billion in the U.S. over the next 5 years to aid in quantum push. This article was quick to point out that Jensen said that's at least 20 years off. But IBM really is at the forefront of quantum. I've seen some really interesting stuff, and they've got kiloqubit machines, at least in the lab. So, yeah, if anybody's going to do it, it's IBM, and IBM's customers are using them in interesting ways. So, IBM would not invest if they didn't see a path to profit.
Now, if you don't know how pharmaceuticals work these days, it's actually pretty intolerable. We pay through organizations like this to do the research at universities, and then the universities lease to the drug companies and take a small bit, and then the drug companies take all the profits. And then when the people are like, hey, can we see what you guys did? The answer is no, that's ours. But we might be getting a relief.
Accelerating access to research results. New implementation date for the 2024 NIH public access policy. July. It's coming in July. So expect pharmaceutical companies to lose their minds between now and July.
I like that it's 2024 public access policy and it's now 2025.
But they have moved it up. It was supposed to be August.
Yeah. This also should help, like you, the audience, this kind of thing should help inoculate you. Because now that you know that this is a thing, when you see other stories in the media, you might realize now, whereas you wouldn't have without knowledge of that that's paid. So, like, the pharmaceutical companies are going to pay to flood the internet with
stories about how they won't make money if they don't do this.
I think the spin will be like, oh, the universities, they're trying to take the university funding.
Is that mine or yours?
It's not me. Oh, yeah, it is.
That's a horrible ringer.
Why is it doing that? Yeah, I reset something and it was bad.
I mean, it's good in terms of, like, it's annoying, so you'll pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what you want.
My bad.
I couldn't find a non-paywall source for this, so I went straight to Microsoft. You got to read between the lines here.
It's a press release, yeah.
Yeah, but basically what Microsoft is saying, hey, we know you guys are upset with America, but we really want to keep doing business with you.
Microsoft announces new European digital commitments. They're going to sue the United States government if they get all handsy with Europeans' data. So,
Which kind of tells us that they know that's already a thing.
yeah. Do we have a separate story about where Microsoft fired the law firm?
I don't think so.
They switched law firms too. So, like, apparently Microsoft is serious because the law firm that they have hired has a track record for fighting the U.S. government. So we'll see.
And we got Denmark. I think we got the UK, right? France was last week, and now another one.
Finland restricts the use of mobile phones during the school day. Woo! But the age of those children is alarming in terms of, was that a problem before?
And they confirmed that 94% of children under 13, which is supposed to be like, you're not allowed to use social media until you're 13 due to the terms of service, 94% had accounts.
Alarming.
But not at school anymore. And as the world and the economy roils, a lot of people are looking at those treasuries and they're like, hey, do we really trust this to be the reserve anymore? Is this really what we want? Maybe we should have a backup. But the hardcore, old school, the Keynesians are like, no, we must not.
Swiss National Bank chairman rebuffs Bitcoin as a reserve asset.
I disagree. I mean, I'm not supporting Bitcoin, but, all of your arguments against Bitcoin, and when you put them up against fractional reserve fiat, I don't see how you let a leg stand on there.
Also, that reminds me, chat engagement challenge. What's going on with Germany? Is Germany actually pulling 100 tons of gold out of New York? Because that's going to be amazing if so.
Amazing with the tone of, uh-oh.
Yeah, if everybody takes their gold back, then that whole leasing system could break down, and who knows what that looks like, because 20 people own every bar of gold. It's just been sold over and over. They might not even get it. Do you think that'd cause a war?
Almost certainly.
What's Germany going to do?
That's a strange thing to say considering past history. What's the worst that Germany could do?
But we nerfed them so hard. I'm saying
we nerfed them hard the first time too, and terrible things happened.
What's their military going to do? This one is this was a crazy story, and I really learned a lot. You guys know about inertia?
Yeah.
I did not, and I learned a lot, and I was like, oh dear God. Because I don't think anybody else working in the government knows about grid inertia the way that I did not. And that's going to be a problem.
Widespread power outage hits Spain and Portugal. So this is the blackout where you saw it on the internet. We don't have a root cause exactly yet, other than some the utterance from this report, like atmospheric turbulent whatever, is not a thing. But 16 gigawatts of power disappeared for 5 seconds.
Which is usually okay, because the turbines will keep spinning. That's the inertia. But there are no more turbines. That's all green energy, which doesn't have inertia. So when things go wrong, it goes wrong immediately and catastrophically.
And 15 gigawatts of power just boop.
We had a big power outage here in the States in 2003. I wondered if it was something as stupid as that was. That was literally just they didn't trim up some tree lines, and then a branch fell on a line, and then it caused a catastrophic error, and the guy was out to lunch, and then the entire New York to part of Canada was just out.
And when I started looking into that, because it was brand new to me, and I was like, have people been talking about this? Oh my God, have people been talking about it? But it's, buried in engineering blogs and stuff.
Yeah.
And the headlines completely ignore it.
Did you run across the data center aspect of that? Because data centers are also messing with the inertia. When you have a job, it's like, go run this job. All those thousands of machines wake up at precisely the same moment. The grid cannot deal with that.
They were talking about
saying I need to buy a generator.
But they're talking about literally just putting those on their own power plants to try to keep them off, which is hilarious. Ugh. I need my electricity. I don't like that.
Not when it's hot. That's miserable.
I've got 10 years of power quality data. And it's the sine wave and spikes and stuff like that. And let me tell you, the last 5 years, that sine wave looks like it's really beleaguered.
Because it's artificial now.
Yeah.
What a terrible drawback to green energy they didn't tell us anything about. And over in Ukraine, Russia, the things are still raging on. You see the peace talk headline, and then right under it, it's drone attack, missile attack. And so it doesn't seem like things are calming down. But they are experiencing the trade war issues as well.
UK bans game controller exports to Russia to hinder military use. Apparently, they're used for everything. Everybody uses game controllers to control all the lethal machinery.
Not everybody, because remember the submarine
I was just
Xbox
thinking about
controller?
that, yeah. But it was off-brand, wasn't it?
That apparently roiled up so many people that the military manufactures them. Yeah, but not Russia.
I thought you were going to make some sort of terrible heavens rich people submarine that imploded joke.
That was controlled by a gaming controller.
It was a Logitech controller.
Yeah. There are so many ads on this site.
And it wasn't even one of the good Logitech controllers. It was just.
And government censorship still raging on, and I don't know if this has anything to do with the current conflicts that are going on there, or
this one was just really dumb.
Well, I mean, when is this not dumb, right?
Karnataka, is that how you say that? High Court directs union government to take steps for blocking Proton mail in India. So somebody was using Proton mail to send memes, deep fakes, and whatever else, and so the Indian government, I guess, asked Proton mail to make it stop, and they said we don't
know who's who and what's what. And
we don't control it in that way. And also, these are some dank memes. And so India's like, all right, we're going to block all of Proton mail.
Which is kind of their thing, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you insult them or make them embarrassed, they're just like, turn it off. Turn everything off. I hate it. And up in the sky, we have one little fella who is apparently, he's in crisis.
Russian satellite linked to nuclear weapon program, appears out of control, U.S. analysts say. Is it just malfunctioning, or was that a counterintelligence operation successful?
Well, his reflection is rapidly changing. And usually that's not the case. Usually they stay facing one direction, which indicates maybe he is spinning uncontrollably.
Well, he's had bouts of spinning uncontrollably, before, but he recovers. But now he's just, full-on panic mode.
There's only so many times you can go into that downward spiral and come out of it.
Oh, it's so tiny.
We know that, the whole the arc of we're not going to give the robots weapons up until now, which is the entire future of warfare is going to be autonomous, and one country is definitely at the forefront.
The Verge's weird story tweet headline is Israel is reportedly using AI to conduct drone strikes, which is alarming.
But it's more than that if you look into it, because the ways they do it. They got an LLM reading all the text messages. If the LLM is like, "Hey, I think this is a terrorist," boom. No
human oversight.
Asked. Yeah, they got microphones in public, which is doing the same thing. But the scariest one is that they're monitoring the phones for background noises. And an AI is like, "Oh, I think this is this building based on those." Boom. 125 civilians they took out to get one guy based on background noise from his phone calls. How are you going to hide from that?
That is a scary level of technology that can do that.
And this is also a scary level of technology being used against us when we don't know it.
Secret AI experiment on Reddit accused of ethical violations. There is a lawsuit. We're going to get a lot in Discovery. So this is putting you on notice that we're going to get lots of interesting information about the lab formerly known as Reddit.
So we talked about this before. It was a debate subreddit. Do you remember what it was? It was like Convince Me or some kind of argument subreddit.
Changed my mind, yeah.
Yeah, and they were in there, and it was all AI, and they were studying it. But now Reddit is saying that they have violated things in ways that don't, like the university should do something about this. They want this paper retracted, and they don't want them to get any credit for publishing it.
So you should go read it. It's interesting.
Yeah, the AI was very effective.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Well, you can change my view.
Or you could argue with the AI. That'd be funny if you argued with the AI about that story. And yes, censorship. We're entering into a golden age of censorship. If you love that, you're going to have a lot to love.
Government censorship comes to Bluesky, but it's not in third-party apps yet. So this is Turkey. Turkey convinced Bluesky to censor or take offline, what was it, like 39 accounts or something for saying things that are against the Turkish regime.
Which I think every other social media company has done that, right, in Turkey. Yeah, they're very proactive about that over there. And it's either do it or, go away. So you can argue that it's not the right thing to do, but they just won't be in Turkey if that's the case. And Elon Musk has been busy over the past 5 months. Boy, has he been busy. But has he been perhaps neglecting some things?
Elon Musk's X lost 11 million users in the EU over the past 5 months. Millions of people in France and Germany have left X.
Although I don't know if that's as much to do with his mismanagement as it is just the heavy anti-American sentiment in the world right now. I mean, most people are not reading anything below the headlines, but they're also feeling it in their life. And so you can understand that they'd be like, oh, those stupid Americans.
That level of suffering is how we got here in the first place, because there's a lot of people in poorer parts of America that for a long time have been like, why did no one feel the suffering? And this is how we got here.
And finally, over at Facebook, they have to feed their AI, and it's getting harder and harder to find fresh food for it. Sure, you can feed it that recycled stuff, but we've seen what happens when you do that. How do you constantly get fresh meat for it?
The Verge's deeply misleading headline is Meta has tightened its privacy policy around Ray-Ban glasses to boost AI training. What they mean is Meta is going to ignore your preferences and not let you delete recordings, and they will be doing AI training on stuff that you previously have opted out of.
Well, I think you can still delete them. But until you delete them, you cannot opt out of them being used to train the data. And all of that will be on by default. You will have to go through some sort of horrible sequence of, whatever on your phone to turn it all off.
So
and even then, it's not off.
Maybe don't use those.
Best you could do, and also like the recording, how long do you think it takes that AI to consume a recording?
Immediate.
Yeah,
It's
so,
immediate.
okay, you do your thing, then you delete it. They've probably already taken care of it.
It's already been backed up. Yeah. Don't worry about it. They've got
Oh,
it.
I don't even know if it's backed up. It's already ingested into the training data.
It's in the stomach. It's covered in acid.
Really, the way around this here would be to have, some sort of protection in place for reverse engineering such a device. Maybe something like we proposed, and then somebody funding reverse engineering these, and it's like, boom, this is going to my local server that's not controlled by Meta. So I can enjoy the technology without also being beholden to Meta.
Do we really need this technology, though? I mean, it's such a violation of everybody else's privacy.
Yeah.
That's true. It's not great.
Again, think back to the story we just had about someone using their phone in public and then the sound of the surrounding area being used for attacks.
Do you remember the awful sketch comedy show, I think from the early 2000s, where there was a guy who would just carry around a giant cell phone, and it made cell phone noises similar to the cell phone noises of the day, and then he would be like, hello! And it was just like a giant foam cell phone. That was funny.
That's just reality now.
Yeah.
And like Ryan said, it's not just like kids either. I've seen adults, older adults, like in their 60s, just watching videos.
Oh, there's no excuse for that. Their hearing aids are Bluetooth.
It's wild out there.
They don't understand how to pair.
Yeah.
They can't comprehend. Oh, but don't make fun of the old people. The audience hates that.
Probably because we all skew a little. Let's be honest, we all skew a little older.
If I could get a heads-up display in my glasses, I would be so happy.
For how long?
An hour.
15 minutes?
That's a dark question.
I would be
I'd
happy
for
until
a
I got
little
the
while.
first alert from something work-related on my glasses,
Yeah.
and then it would be like, oh no.
I can't escape it.
Yeah.
I have a deep resentment to my cell phone for the same reason. Anyway, we will see you guys in the next one. Bye!